Good afternoon, everybody. I'll just start with a statement. I got here really mid-September. We had some guys committed already. So me and the personnel staff just kind of teaming up with the coaches and Vic Cabral, who was the recruiting coordinator, working with him on a plan to continue to keep the guys that we had committed. And then obviously understanding what the additional positions of interest we had that we wanted to try to get signed, and then work through those, and as well as keep an eye on the transfer portal, making sure that if names popped up, we were looking at them with the specific interest in Georgia, obviously trying to get Georgia guys to come back home. Ideally guys that we already had a previous relationship with that we may have recruited that would have given us a leg up. So we think we pretty much did that and had a pretty successful seamless signing day today. So with that, I'll open the floor for some questions.
What's your job like in the midst of everything that's been going on? I would imagine on a regular basis, it's pretty stressful, but now with all this that you've had to jump through in the hoops and so much virtual, what's it like for your job?
Yeah, it's different. So part of that actually made the transition a little easier because I could just worry about working and evaluating and organizing, and I didn't necessarily have to host 50, 60, 70 recruits every weekend. So that part of it actually gave me a leg up in terms of getting a lot of the desk work done that I wasn't able to get done in spring or summer because I hadn't gotten hired yet. So that part of it actually gave me a leg up. But then it's the part of, yes, you don't get to actually meet the prospective student athletes. You don't get to spend time with them. You don't get to meet their families in person. You don't get to meet the younger class, the 2022s and the 23s that may come to campus that you want to start to get to know. So that part of it was difficult. So it was a lot of virtual. And for me, I learned a lot of our campus virtually as well, just doing virtual tours with some of the recruits. But a lot of it was virtual and on Zoom. So yeah, we signed a class that, you know, you never get to stand in front of them and shake their hand and say hello to them. So it's definitely different.
What kind of, I guess, when you're trying to sell Georgia Southern to people and you know people are going against you or trying to use the option or whatever against you, what do you use as selling points?
The main thing we do is talk about us, talk about who we are, what we're about. And my big thing is always providing them with enough information for them to make an informed decision. So understanding what those topics may be, and then providing information to overcome that. And we did a thing this year where we sent a lot of infographics out after games to see what our numbers were rushing, what our numbers were defensively, sending those things out so student athletes are able to see what we're doing on a week in and week out basis. And then when you get the chance to talk to them, you speak to them about who we are, what we're about, what the school is going to do for them, and talk about, you know, what we can do to help them, to support them, to help them grow, and what being a Georgia Southern man is all about. And for the guys that was a fit for, we ended up getting them. You know, for the guys that may not have been a fit for, they decided to go somewhere else. But you know, we're going to be who we are. We're going to be confident about that, and we're going to provide them that information and help them to make an informed decision.
When you see your early signees putting pen to paper, posting their photos, how rewarding and exciting is it for you on a day like today?
It's super exciting. It's super exciting. Signing day, I mean, it's the day for us where you work. You know, you spend a year, sometimes over a year, recruiting these kids, recruiting their families, talking to them, building relationships with them. And it's exciting to finally seal the deal and know they're officially coming to school here. And then it's also exciting to, begin to think about the future of what the team is going to look like, what this position group looks like now, what additional they add to the team. How can we use these players to help us win more games? So it's extremely exciting once you actually know, like, okay, they're no longer a recruit now. Now they're part of the team. So now we're planning on what are we going to do to help us win games on Saturdays with these guys. So that part is really exciting.
How
Butler,
closely do you work
this
with
in Michigan State? How does it compare doing it at Georgia Southern?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
Having gone through this process at Michigan State, how would you compare how it's been and how it's gone and stuff like that at Georgia Southern?
Well, I think it's hard to compare because this year is so different. And I think everybody went through the same challenges this year. So just it would be easier to compare if everything, all other outside factors were the same, but the fact that we weren't able to meet in person, the fact that we weren't able to do a lot of that, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say what the similarities and differences are because this year recruiting was so much different than it's ever been in my entire career.
How closely do you work with, Coach Phil Garden, the guys who got a lifestyle to get content out there and keep recruits excited?
Every single day. So Phil and me, our offices are right next to each other. So we meet pretty much every day and plan graphics and videos, how we're getting it out, how we're branding our team, the university, how we're making it look exciting to recruit. So when they pop on our social media page, they can really get a glimpse and have an idea of what it's like to come to school here. Getting obviously graphics and things like that out to recruits, which is a big deal now. So we do a lot of that planning weekly and meet pretty much daily on to brand our team and to create excitement through video, through graphics, through social media. And they did a great job on that. And I thought the graphics and the videos we put out today for signing day, once the players actually signed, were really good. I know the players were excited about them.
How has the transfer portal changed your job and in the recruiting aspect?
It adds a different element to it, where it's almost now you kind of have to split the department, and it's kind of like a college scouting side to it now, where you have to be aware of the transfer portal. And we have one of our staff members, Andrew Bevel, who's responsible pretty much for keeping track of the transfer portal, getting us a spreadsheet each week for us to see who's in there. He does a good job sorting it by Georgia, Florida, and then other surrounding states that are close to us, so we can see who's in there pretty much every single week, so we can know, who's going in, talk to the position coaches, and see if there's guys that we know that we've previously recruited. I mean, there were even some guys in there that I had recruited a couple of years ago that we've been, we've been doing our best to try to keep track of it, and it's expanding, and now with the new rule that might be passing, there's a lot more names going in than usual. I think last week it was over 90 names just in 1 week. So it's a lot of traffic on there right now.
What's the most important way that you've gone about building relationships?
I think making sure they're genuine, making sure you're true to who you are, and making sure I think for me, it's having knowledge of the university, of our program, which is something I was able to learn relatively quickly when I got here. So having knowledge of us, our school, our program, what we're about, our culture, and then being able to communicate that while still building genuine, real relationships with the student athletes, which again can be a challenge without doing that in person. Like, I've always enjoyed the personal relationships and contacts, and just talking to them before the game and just being able to spend time with them. So here it's different, where it's through phone, so you kind of let your personality come out through the phone, cracking jokes and things like that here and there. But it's finding a way to stay in contact, stay connected, we do a good job of keeping track of, guys' games every weekend and reaching out to them, keeping track of their stats, good games. So you had a couple touchdowns, things like that, just trying to make sure we're staying on top of everything and using every avenue we can to continue to actually see them in person.
Recruiting class rankings, how do you feel about that? Do you guys get into a little bit of that? If you feel like you've got a real good class, you want to go out and spread the word. If not, do you have to be defensive about those things, or do you not care one way or the other?
Very rarely do I pay attention to the recruiting class rankings. So I'm not sure exactly what we're ranked in terms of conference or numbers or country. Like we got a lot of the players that we wanted, and we're excited about the class. And we think we have guys that are going to come in and contribute and help us out. So when we're recruiting, we focus on what we see on film, how we see that translating to our team, and how that young man fits as a player and as a person in our program. We don't necessarily try to make the decisions based on what the players are ranked. So I'm not sure what the majority of our guys are ranked. I know what I saw on film and what I liked about them as players on film. Okay. Sounds like we're all good here, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It was great talking to y'all. Great seeing you guys again that I have met, and guys that I haven't met. Good meeting you and talking with you.